Hey y'all, welcome to the Meat Bird Barn at Twin Oaks Family Farm. Thanks for joining us on Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. I'm Melissa and wanted to take this opportunity to show you a good comparison of how we want baby chicks to use heat lamps and how we prefer not to see them using heat lamps. So I just came in for a barn check. I think they're going to start to be active since I'm talking and there's activity in the barn. But this flock looks good. They're 4 days old. There's 126 of them. Gonna start with zooming in. Well, we'll start here because they are starting to move. So this is how we want to see chicks using heat lamps, and this is what we don't want to see. So we'll try to talk about it, but they're going to start to get up and move. So see here, you see more or less an organized circle with the central part left open like a donut, like a ring around that central beam of warmth coming down from the heat lamp. That's how we want to see the chicks using the heat lamps. We can see it over there as well. So and you also can see they've got their tails turned into the middle of the circle. So that's what we want. Over here, they're just filled in solid. They were just filled in solid under that lamp. Now as they're starting to move and there's less of a group there, some of them are moving out. It's creating a little bit of that hole there. But these birds now, since I'm in here and there's activity in the barn, they'll start to stir, they'll start to be active. So that was a good opportunity though to show you that. And I want to explain to you why. So we still have a little bit of that circle somewhat formed here. So the birds that are laying down there, you can see they're mostly facing us. So their tail is into the strong beam of light, and that's where the warmth is from the heat lamp that we're using to help keep them warm enough, because baby chicks don't thermoregulate well. They don't have their mature feathering, and that fluff is all they have, but their body isn't mature enough to warm itself up to the temperature the chicks need to stay. So we use supplemental warmth to help them. And then as they feather in and get bigger and more mature, they can handle that better on their own. But in that regard, meat chickens are unique because they need a steadier temperature than other kind of chickens. But as you're seeing these ones that are still laying there under the light, the reason we want them to form that kind of organized circle with their tail in, and the reason that is a good situation, is because then as those chicks get warm, if for some reason like the ambient temperature around our barn increases and they need less supplemental warmth from the heat lamps, if they're already in a single ring facing out, if a chick gets too warm, it can just get up and leave that hot spot. Okay, on the other hand, when you have a bunch like that aren't leaving that central space under that heat lamp, if one in the center gets too hot, which is very likely to happen because of the body warmth of all the chicks right there, if one in the center gets too hot and tries to push its way out of the hot spot and can't, it can easily overheat. And if it overheats and becomes weak, it can actually very easily get smashed by the other chicks. So we're constantly watching how are they using the heat lamps, and we actually mentioned this in day 3, I believe. This one bulb has a different kind of tint to it than these bulbs. So when we purchase bulbs, we try to get red tinted heat lamps, but when it says red tinted, typically this is what we get, like an orange yellow, which is great, and our chicks interact well with it, as you saw in that example when we first started. For some reason, this bulb is much redder. This bulb closest to us, like this corner, is much redder in tone and tint than these, and the birds are actually interacting with it differently. So that's very interesting. So at any rate, so wanted to show you that example, and so we'll hit some of the other highlights on their care here. 4-day-old meat chicks. We're actually raising them to 37 days old, and then they'll go to a USDA inspected processor to be made into some whole chickens and some custom cuts like boneless, skinless chicken breast, and the wings will be packaged, and probably will have the dark meat deboned and ground into patties, okay? But at this point, we are feeding them a 22% protein feed. We're trying to keep a steady ambient temperature there under their heat lamps available for them, and they have space to leave it if they want to. You could limit their space to prevent them moving around so much, but we don't do that. We know that they're going to prioritize warmth anyway, so they're probably going to, for the most part, stay close to where they're most comfortable temperature-wise, which at this age is going to be mainly where the heat lamps are. And on the other hand, we like the balance of the fact that they can get up and move around and use their legs, because we need them to stay strong. We need them to basically be doing kind of gentle strength training on their legs all throughout production, so that their legs will be strong for them at the end of production. So we have the trays of feed where they're open right now. In the next day or so, we'll probably put lids on those. They'll have to reach into holes through the lids to get to those. We're still in the first bag of feed. We've probably used 25 pounds of feed in the first 4 days here, and we have about 7 gallons of water available to them in the pen. They're not emptying those, but we refill them a couple times a day to make sure the water is staying fresh for them. So we talked about on day 3, we're probably going to switch out this bulb for another one, and we were given it another day to see what we thought, and this confirms it. I am going to see if we can, maybe one of those bulbs that's not in use is like the tint of these, and we can switch that one out and get these all uniform for them. So that's what we're going to work on. But oh look, there's a bunch of them at the water. So 4 days old, they're really doing well. We've had nighttime temperatures 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, daytime temperatures 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It's forecast to warm up for us soon. I don't think I ever said the date. This is April 25th, 2024. So we're in rural Southeast Ohio, USA. So that weather, those temperatures are pretty typical for us this time of year, but they're cool temperatures for raising chickens, especially baby chicks that are meat chickens. So all baby chicks need help with thermoregulation. And so if you have ambient temperatures, lower than 90 degrees Fahrenheit in general, you need to provide them some kind of supplemental warmth. So we're going to wrap this one up. Just wanted to show you that example of how chicks use heat lamps and what we want to see and what we don't want to see.